This is the all-new Galaxy Watch Ultra, and I've been using this on my wrist for the past 2 weeks exclusively. This has been my wearable, this has been my tracker, this has been my sleep buddy. This has been everything in between all of those points, and I want to give you my thoughts about the Galaxy Watch Ultra here. There's a couple things that I really like. There's a lot of big improvements when it comes to this watch versus other iterations, but there's also a couple things that I'm kind of like shaking my head about, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. I'm going to let you know whether or not I think it's worth $650. Now, of course, price is subjective. It all depends how fat your wallets are. You might have no limits when it comes to your spending, but you might also just want to kind of get the best value for your money. So let's go over my thoughts of the Galaxy Watch Ultra. I'll throw some links down below if you're interested in picking it up or if you want to know more specs, because this is not going to be a spec heavy video. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to the Galaxy Watch Ultra. So let's get to it. Now, I mentioned there's not going to be a spec heavy video, but there's some specs that you guys want to know right off the bat. So here it is in no particular order. This is a very large watch, as you can see. I like to call this a squircle design because you have a circle within a square. And it's something that Samsung's done before with the Galaxy Watch Sport. And I think a larger iteration of that actually looks a lot better. Now, it also does have the same 47mm design as the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic 47. So if you're used to larger watches, this is going to be right up your alley. I actually really like larger watches. So I've been a super fan of this Galaxy Watch Ultra since I've had it on my wrist. And also, I've been getting quite a lot of compliments, quite a lot of people asking me what type of watch this is. So if you like to get hit up and asked what type of tech you're wearing, this is definitely a product for you. It also does have Samsung's latest 3nm W1000 processor in here, and it just makes it a very snappy device. Now when I compare this to my other watches, the Galaxy Watch Ultra loads apps a lot faster, it does things a lot faster, and there's hardly any stutter. Again, this is Wear OS, so expect a stutter here or there, but it's nothing that's been like how it was in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, Samsung watches in the past have been really snappy most of the time. Some of their products have been a little bit on the sluggish side, but the Galaxy Watch 6 was a pretty snappy and pretty pleasurable device to use. But this Ultra watch actually just kind of steps it up a little bit more and gives us a snappier experience overall, and it just feels a lot smoother with all of the animations. So that W1000 chip is doing a really nice job in here in conjunction with Wear OS 5. Now, being the Ultra watch from Samsung, as the name suggests, this is the Ultra. This is as big and as bad as all of their watches are going to get this year. And I really like the titanium design, and with that military spec 810H rating, it's going to be able to take more hits and be very, very durable. I have knocked this on some door frames. I have knocked it at the gym, and I do not see one tiny little scratch anywhere. I don't see any scratches. I have not babied this, and it's still looking brand new and pristine. I'm really excited for how this is going to look, say a year later when the Ultra 2 comes out. It also is IP68 and 10 atmosphere rated, so for those of you that like to kind of take this when you swim and whatnot, this is going to be a nice option for you guys. And the last spec I want to talk about is, of course, battery. Inside of here, you have a 590 milliamp hour battery, and that seems pretty big for a watch in my opinion. That's definitely a large capacity, but I'm going to talk to you about battery life and how it actually is in everyday usage on the Galaxy Watch Ultra. Now, finally, when it comes to the overall design of the watch, again, I really like this design. I do wish, however, that Samsung would have included either the rotating bezel that I actually really like, or if they just gave us a rotating crown. My other watch, the TicWatch Pro 5 Enduro, which also has a really large capacity battery, does have a rotating crown, and I think on this watch that's just a missed opportunity. For those of you that are really rugged and outdoorsy and are going to put this Ultra to the test, and I'm going to call that about 5% of people that buy this watch, because let's be real, most of us just want the latest and greatest, and no doubt this is the latest and greatest. But for those of you that are living your best life in the outdoors and are super active, not having to touch the screen while your hands are sweaty or while you're doing an activity, just being able to quickly rotate the crown or the bezel would have been something that I actually think a lot of people would have enjoyed. And just as a user, as a basic user, just kind of navigating through the screens and whatnot, a crown would have been super useful. I'm willing to bet next year around we're going to get one or the other. Although the rotating crown is gone, you do have a digital kind of crown, but it still involves using your finger. And that's really all the specs I want to talk about, other than the really nice design. I like the color pop everywhere you look. You can see that color pop on that all-new action button right in the middle there. And you see the different colors on the other buttons as well. So you do have a back button and like a recent button. and you can customize all of these buttons to do what you want to do within range of what Samsung's going to let you do. And same goes for that action button, quick access to your workout, which I actually really like. And finally, before we move on to other things about this watch, guys, I have to give Samsung credit for the new mechanism when it comes to the watch band. This is just something that makes this watch band experience not only really easy to switch out, and makes the watch bands really durable as well, because they're not going to fall out during activities. They just clip in really nicely and give you that strong, secure fit. But it also maintains the design of the watch. Many other times with, say, 22mm or 20mm bands, some of those third-party bands, which I am going to get some for this watch, so make sure to subscribe and keep following my channel if you're interested in some bands that don't cost a fortune, because at 80 bucks a pop, I think that's really expensive for a band. And quite honestly, I'm not ready to spend that type of dough on a rubber or silicone band, whatever material they're using. But back to the band, guys, a 22mm, sometimes those other bands kind of left a gap, and I know it annoyed a lot of people, including myself. If you have the Galaxy Watch 6 or any of the other Galaxy watches, you guys know what I mean about that gap between the band and the actual housing of the watch. When it comes to the overall watch and everyday usage, again, I like the larger size, and because it's square, it actually sits nicer on my wrist, and even though it's about 60 or 61 grams, it is actually more light feeling on my wrist, and I am able to sleep with it. I generally don't like sleep tracking with watches because they just kind of annoy me when I'm sleeping. They don't feel super comfortable. But with the square design, it actually sits on my wrist pretty nicely. And as large devices go, again, I have a lot of large watches. This was actually light on my wrist comparing it to, say, my Garmin Tactix 7 Pro, which actually feels really heavy. This sat on my wrist all night long, and I never really had any issue. And I'm going to talk about sleep tracking just a little bit later on in the video, but in terms of the overall feel and design, again, I think Samsung hit it out of the park. And when it comes to design as well, the screen gets super bright at 3000 nits, so when you're out and about in the outdoors or walking through your concrete jungle, scrolling through, looking at text, or doing whatever you guys do on your smartwatch is not going to be an issue. I just switched this button functionality. You can switch the functionalities to show my recent apps, whereas before it would just kind of go back. So that's why I'm kind of confusing myself a little bit. I probably shouldn't have done that before the video, but hey, I like to tinker with my gadgets, and that's exactly what I did. So let's talk about some of the features of the Galaxy Watch here, guys. I'm not going to go over the OS. I mean, it's a Wear OS device. I'm sure by this time you've seen a ton of videos on what it can do, and that's really a benefit these days to having most of the watches with Wear OS, because you already know how it's going to work. Swiping over, you get access to kind of your applications and any of your widgets that you've set up. And Samsung does a really nice job with their widgets. I think overall they do a pretty nice job. Now the age index is something new, and I quite honestly, I really don't know what it is, guys. I mean, I'm going to do a little bit of a research if I'm really that curious about it. But supposedly it's going to give you a sense of your metabolic health, which reflects your overall biological aging process, and is strongly influenced by your diet and lifestyle. So how I interpret that really is like, hey, you're 45 years old, but inside your body is really 65, or maybe your body's 35. That's kind of how I'm looking at this age index. I mean, if you guys know more than I do, definitely let me know down in the comments below. And again, if I am more interested in what that does, I'm going to let you guys know as well down in those comments. But you can quickly take an ECG, and you can also do a body composition, which I actually really like. So again, guys, you get a lot of nice features that you always got on Samsung watches, and at $650, I'm still struggling to kind of see what benefit this has other than the new design, other than the titanium build. Yes, that is pretty big and major, having a titanium build. But other than that, the interior, the software is basically the same as the Galaxy Watch 7. So I wish Samsung kind of gave us a little bit of a differentiating feature, maybe a really wow feature of this watch. Because right now it's basically just a different design, and if you take away the square, it's kind of the same design in the middle. I know, Samsung Knights, don't attack me. I'm just stating the obvious here. But let's move on to a couple other things. I'm trying to make this video quick. I'll do some follow-up videos if you guys are interested. But let's talk about battery life, because the screen is amazing at 3000 nits, and I like the speaker and mic built in. This is probably one of the only watches that I can actually hear my notifications come through while walking in New York City. So I give Samsung a huge credit for improving the speaker quality. And if you do get in trouble, there is a siren. Now, just as a little disclaimer, this is going to get pretty loud. So let me show you guys the siren so you can hear what that's going to sound like. Again, if you're in the outdoors doing your outdoorsy thing and you get in trouble, you need help, this is going to siren and let people know. Kind of sounds like those Viper car alarms from back in the day. Shout out to you guys if you know what I'm talking about. But speaker and mic is really good. Now what's not really good about this watch is quite honestly battery life. I don't want to say it's not really good, but I was hoping for a little bit more, and ever since the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro that got amazing battery life, I've just been wanting for more from Samsung, and with that W1000 3nm chip, I actually thought in conjunction with the 590 milliamp hour battery that this was going to be a battery champ. Now, quite honestly, in my everyday usage, now my usage consists of about an hour and a half, 2 hours at the gym, walking around, taking a couple text messages, not really talking on the phone too much through my watch, maybe 15 minutes here and there. Sleep tracking, of course. I'm getting about 2 days, really just on that cusp of 2 days. It's basically the 2-day mark, and hey, this thing is already drained. But speaking of draining, let's just take a look at the battery life right now. So it's 71%, and I unplugged this at about 10 a.m. this morning, at maybe 9 a.m. this morning. I'm going to check the battery specs when I show you the application. So it's already, let's call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 hours, and I'm at 71%. So I don't really call this a battery champ. I know some people are, and some people are going to say 2 days is really good. And yes, if you want to compare it to, say, that Fruit device, that other Ultra device, that only gets about 2 days as well. But I was just hoping for something a little bit different. Again, I think these guys should really step up with their battery game when it comes to a wearable. And again, almost 600 milliamp hour battery, that should be enough for days and days. My TicWatch Pro Enduro definitely gets about 5 days, I believe. So, you know, I would have liked 3.5 maybe, but you do have a power saving mode, so 100 hours in power saving mode if you really need to get a little bit extra juice there. Let's put the Galaxy Watch aside for just a second. I just want to show you a couple things here that are worth bringing to your attention. And since we've been talking about battery, just to show you the battery life, so 71%, it's saying I have about a day and 6 hours, and it has been off the charger since 4 hours and 41 minutes ago. So according to these stats, it's kind of hit or miss whether I'm actually going to make that 2 hours. From my calculations, 6 hours, and it's been off the charger for almost 5. That's not really equaling 24 hours here. I'm kind of 12 hours short. So again, battery life has not really been super consistent, but usually it's about that 2-day mark. And sadly, there's no quick charging either, which I would have liked to have seen on the Ultra. Again, Samsung just stepping it up a little bit and giving a little bit more when it comes to your Ultra name on your most premium and most expensive watch to date. Well, I think it was to date. You guys are probably going to tell me maybe the Galaxy Gear was more expensive. But in any case, quick charge would have been really nice, because at almost 2 hours to charge this thing on the puck, you're actually waiting quite a bit of time for this to fully charge, and I would have liked to have seen a quick charge, maybe 15 minutes, you can top up and get at least a day's worth of battery, something like that. Anyway, it is what it is when it comes to battery life. It's still a nice watch, and all of our devices are power hungry. Speaking of which, the Galaxy S24 Ultra here, which used to last me almost 2 days, only gets me about a day. So battery life is what it is. Battery life is, well, battery life. A couple other things that I really like about the Galaxy Watch Ultra here is we get a couple new gestures. So you can do kind of like a knock feature, and that's going to activate your Google Assistant. Who's the President of the United States?
Joe Biden.
I like that knock feature to activate the Google Assistant, and we also do get like a pinching feature as well. So if you wanted to pause your music or do various other things, it's going to either stop or replay what you're doing. So if I start playing some music, if I do a quick pinch while the screen is active, and that seems to be the little trick to it, the screen has to be active, it's going to stop or replay my music. So there we go, you can see that play button. If I double pinch, it's going to play again. So I like the pinch feature. And as I mentioned earlier in the video as well, those buttons on the side, you can do different things with. So you have your action button. So right now I do have it for my exercises. You can have it activate a specific activity if you want. You can also have it activate a couple other things here, and it can be activated with a short press or a double press as well. That home button, it's the same thing. You can change the buttons. So you have a couple different options here, and then your back button as well. So again, guys, you got a lot of nice features that I actually really like. And yes, there's a shake to dismiss if you want to activate that. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is health tracking, and I think Samsung, with their new sensors on the back and that AI training, that Galaxy AI training, is actually doing a really good job. Now, I did just have a workout, so this isn't really going to show all that much when it comes to strength training. It's just basically going to show you your heart rate zones, but I also did go for a walk. I went for a bike ride, and I think the GPS does a nice job. I actually am really impressed with the GPS, and the step tracking seems to be on point this year as well. Maybe 100 or 200 steps off other devices, but if you put 3 or 4 devices, even 2 devices together, any consumer device, they are not going to give you the same type of data. So in terms of step tracking and in terms of the heart rate monitor, I think it actually does a decent job. It's a lot better than last year's model, and I think Samsung is doing a nice job. To show you the bike ride that I did, I actually mapped one going there and mapped one coming back to see if we get the same statistics. And we actually did 7.01 miles going and 7.02 coming back. Taking a look at the map, again, I'm not an ultra athlete, guys. I'm just probably like you. I'm a regular dude who likes to track my activities and get a general idea, if not a perfect idea, of what impact it had on my health. More and more, it's just bragging rights to say, look at what I did. But in any event, I think the dual band GPS on the Ultra watch does a really nice job. And in New York City, you kind of struggle with GPS. A lot of watches struggle. But this watch actually kept me on the West Side Highway run here. So you can see here, I'm still on the actual trail. Maybe just a tiny bit off there, But for the most part, it kept me on the trail of the West Side Highway. And that's a huge improvement. Again, this is still one software update. I think I only got one software update in. And I would like to say that the GPS does a nice job on the Galaxy Watch Ultra. And if we take a look at my return ride, 7.02 miles, you can see here pretty much the same thing. So I started from Brooklyn over on that bike pathway. And if we zoom in, again, basically keeping me on the pathway just about. You can see there's no huge variation about where I was. And tiny little bit there, I was between a couple buildings. Now let's see once I get onto the Brooklyn Bridge. There it struggled just a little bit. Again, New York City, this is not something new. Here I am on the Brooklyn Bridge bike pathway, and you can see it's doing a really nice job in that open air to keep me on that pathway, pretty much keeping me on the straight and narrow. Let's take a look here, and it kind of went off a tiny bit there, guys. Tiny bit. I should be on the other side here. Should be right about there. But once we get back to the city, pretty decent. So again, I think the GPS does a nice job. And I did actually track a walk with the Galaxy Watch Ultra and with my Garmin watch. So let me show you my walk here. I believe it was Wednesday. So here's 2.66 miles. And let's just take a look at the important things, at least from what I think is important. My average heart rate was 105 BPM. And again, 2.66 miles, average speed 3.5. Now if we take a look at my Garmin, same thing, just about 2.68 miles. And average heart rate was 96. So that's within 10 beats per minute off just a little bit. And you can see my total calories, 387. Let's go back here, total calories 350. Average heart rate 105. Now again, I had it on 2 different wrists. One is the right, one is the left. But again, within range for most people. So comparing these 2 watches, you can see that it did a pretty good job of keeping it in range. Now, if we take a look at one more activity when it comes to biking, again, I biked to Queens this time. So you can see here, I went from Midtown over to Astoria. You can see my distance was 5.28 miles. Average speed was about 12 miles an hour. Again, average heart rate was 116. Now, if we go back to the Galaxy Watch Ultra, here's my bike. So 5.25 miles. Again, what did we get on this one? 5.28, so definitely within range. 119 was the BPM, 116. Average speed was 12, and average speed was 12. So again, guys, not being an ultra athlete, not being really anal about my stats and whatnot, I'm thinking the Galaxy Watch is doing a really nice job. And the Galaxy Watch, say, versus a Garmin watch, of course you're getting a much better screen. You're getting more functionality when it comes to taking calls from your wrist, replying to text messages from your wrist, using your voice, having access to apps and all of that stuff. So for me, I would say this is definitely more accurate than how it was on other iterations. Other iterations from the Galaxy Watch were a little bit off. Now again, it's using some nice AI in here. It's got all new sensors on the back. So I think Samsung is doing a really nice job. And I actually went for a super long walk. Someone asked me to go for a long walk. They wanted me to walk for like 6 hours, but I was like, bruh, that's a little bit crazy. There's no way I'm walking for 6 hours. But I actually did walk for 1 hour and 35 minutes. So shout out to you. I walked a little bit. Again, I walked from the city over to Woodside, and it took me 1 hour and 35 minutes. Average speed 3.6. There's my heart rate. You can see the splits. You can see the different heart rate zones, your VO2 max, and you get little achievements as well. And I always say that a watch is really more fun. Yes, a watch is more fun when you get achievements, when you can have mini competitions, mini challenges with other friends that have similar devices. And Samsung has really been at the forefront of this challenge game, really at the forefront of the social game when it comes to a watch. So here's your little challenge screen. I got a couple friends here. I really haven't played much with this, but it does allow you to join certain competitions. So even if you don't have friends and you're kind of lonely when it comes to the Galaxy Watch game, everyone's on that Apple device, you can still join some competitions with people you don't know. So I think Samsung does a nice job, and if you do have other people that wear Galaxy devices, you can go ahead and challenge them here if that's their thing. Samsung's always been at the forefront when it comes to that, and they do give you little videos now and whatnot, and you can see, you get badges, all that corny stuff, I'm gonna call it, but it's corny in a fun way. Now lastly, I just wanna go over sleep tracking. Apparently I'm a mole sleeper, so I do sleep at inconsistent times during the night, and with the Galaxy Watch being so comfortable, at least for me and my body and my wrist, I've really enjoyed wearing this. But when you're done with your sleep, you get a nice sleep score and you get a sleep time. And I like the fact that you can see what time you went to bed versus when you actually went to sleep. So here's your sleep time here, and you can see kind of different things. I was in bed for 9 hours and 30 minutes. I was actually listening to a little bit of a podcast, so that's why it took 1 hour off of my actual sleep score, my sleep time. When it comes to the sleep tracking of the Galaxy Watch Ultra, it does a nice job, and it's pretty much on par with the ring that I've been wearing. So let's just kind of take a look at some stats really quickly. Sleep score is 91, and if we go ahead and click on it, you can see how you fare versus your age group. So apparently I'm sleeping a lot better than people in my age group, or actually a lot better than everyone actually, 91%. I'll take that any day of the week. And here's your sleep score factors, your sleep stages. So let's just take a look at the sleep stages versus the ring and kind of just compare them quickly. Again, no two devices, no two consumer devices are going to give you exactly the same thing. It's kind of like a leap of faith. Just trust the algorithm and trust that it does a good job. So here it is, awake 24 minutes, REM was 2 hours and 33 minutes. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the ring and see what the ring told me. So my sleep here on the ring, which I've been wearing for about a month, it says it's about an 86. Total time of sleep was 8 hours and 46. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Galaxy Watch once again. 8 hours and 43. I mean, you really can't beat that comparison. Time in bed was 9 hours and 6. I think this one said 9 hours and 30 minutes. Now let's just take a look at my REM and kind of see what it says here. So my REM on the ring says 1 hour and 27 minutes. And if we take a look at here, REM is 2 hours and 33. It's a little bit off, but it is what it is. Light sleep, 4 hours and 42. Light sleep, 5 hours and 44. Now let's go back. Deep sleep, 1 hour and 4. Deep sleep, 1 hour and 38. Let's actually check one more day just to kind of see if it was any closer. So let's go back to sleep and let's choose the 24th. And let's see, 82. Now if we go back to the ring, let's go to the 24th here. Here's Wednesday the 24th. So here we go, sleep was a 92. Total sleep 7 hours and 30. Total sleep 7 hours and 13. But let's just go back and kind of see the REM. REM was 2 hours and 2 minutes. And if we take a look at the ring here, 1 hour and 43. So again, no device is really going to give you exactly the same stats. Light sleep, 4 hours and 4. 4 hours and 19. and deep sleep 57, deep sleep 1 hour and 29. So again, guys, you just got to kind of trust the algorithm, and who really knows if these are actually accurate on any of these devices. I mean, I'm sure they're pretty close to accurate as you can get with a consumer device. Now, if we take a look at the heart rate, again, I think Samsung's Ultra Watch does a nice job on the heart rate. Let's see, my lowest was 45. And if we take a look at here, 48. So again, the ring and the watch are actually talking to each other this time, actually doing a nice job. And if we take a look at the skin temperature, let's kind of take a look, 94.95. And if we go back to the watch here, 92.6, and no snoring data. Thank you very much. And this does also detect sleep apnea. If that's your thing, you can go ahead and use the watch in conjunction with your phone to check for sleep apnea. But heart rate, definitely on point, guys. You can see here, and you can see your respiratory rate. You can see a lot of nice information about your sleep when it comes to sleep tracking and whatnot. The last point when it comes to sleep tracking, in order to get your energy score, which is basically like Garmin's body battery, it's going to take a bunch of different things into consideration, like your heart rate, your previous day's activities, your sleeping score, your sleeping consistency, all of that good stuff. And you can see all of the factors that affect your energy score. All of these factors put into one, that's a good number. 78 means I'm probably going to be pretty energetic. And I actually like this idea. It's kind of keeping you on track and trying to keep you well maintained and kind of keep your body well maintained like a well-oiled machine. So the energy score is something I actually really like. Again, it's just a little bit of fun baked into the Galaxy Watch Ultra. Now, of course, it tracks your stress. That's nothing new on any of these watches. There's my sleep score right there. And I like the widgets. So I think this is worth $649. Oh man, that's got to be a hard pill to swallow. I really don't think if I didn't have that trade-in that brought this down to about $300 all in, I don't really think this would be a watch that I would spend $650 on. Now again, I'm not that ultra marathoner. I'm not that ultra outdoorsy type that's climbing all of these mountains just for fun. I'm your average jabber. I'm just kind of like doing my thing, going out, having a good time, and I want a watch that's going to keep up with me. And for that, this is definitely going to keep up with you and then some. But at $650, we're kind of getting into smartphone territory. You can probably get some pretty cool smartphones for that price. And I don't know, guys, again, depends how deep your pockets are, depends if you always need the latest and greatest, but I would wait for a deal. I would definitely wait and see if we can find some sort of deal. And check my link down below. That's where you're going to find the latest deals when they come available. But if you're climbing that mountain and you're really putting this watch to its paces, then yes, it would definitely be worth it to you. But for the average Joe, for the average jabber just like me, I like the latest and greatest, but I also like those trade-in values. So $300 was the price is right type of deal. I think this is a great watch. Look for a deal, look for trade-ins. Definitely check it out if you're interested in it because it is a really good watch from Samsung. Just not $700 worth. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you in another video.